How's it going, guys? I'm Theo, probably should have gotten a haircut before the whole lockdown Joe, and today we've got a bunch of different topics to talk about, a bunch of different stuff I wanted to cover, so we're just going to roll it all into one video. So we're going to start off with one thing I'm very excited about, a leak from Google, which is that looks like they're working on a debit card, kind of like to compete with the whole Apple credit card. Looks like Google is working on a debit card specifically, not a credit card, but it'll basically be the same idea, where you'll be able to use a Google branded but with a partner bank card to make payments, and then it'll use, I don't know if it'll be exclusive to Android, but probably like Google Wallet, very similar to this thing that you may have seen me talk about in the past, which is the Google Wallet card. This used to exist. It actually does not expire yet, but in like 2016, Google discontinued this. I was a big fan of this thing, and hopefully they're bringing that back. This was basically a debit card, so it seems like they're just doing the same thing again, which I'm pretty excited about. What I really liked about this is kind of like a Venmo or other debit card. You could add stuff to this, add money to this, and then spend it or withdraw it from an ATM. But what was nice, and I've talked about this before, is you could transfer money to this using the Google Wallet app, and it would instantly deposit, which is not usually the case for any other debit cards, even these other apps, where you have to wait like 3 days for the deposit to clear. With this, Google would basically front the money for you and give you instant access even to withdraw the money, even if the transaction to deposit it hadn't completely cleared yet. So I'm really hoping they do that type of thing again, but if it's gonna be with a partner bank, I don't know, they might not do that with financial regulations, but still, I can still hope that they'll bring this exactly back. Now, like I said, we don't have all the details about this yet, just what we saw in a leak. So this was leaked by TechCrunch, and you could see some different images that were going to be or are going to be used in the app for this card. And it suggests a lot of features such as contactless card payments and being able to lock the card with a toggle or order a replacement. This is a pretty standard feature nowadays. So pretty cool stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. If it doesn't require like getting a credit check or something like that, I'd be willing to get it. But otherwise, I don't know if it's exclusive to Android. We'll have to see. That would probably shoot it in the foot, but I don't know. All right, now the next topic has to do with something that you probably never heard of before. It's BGP, stands for Border Gateway Protocol, and it's an internet protocol that basically has to do with how internet traffic is routed. And it turns out a lot of internet service providers use an insecure form of this, which is susceptible to attacks or just failures, because this is a very old protocol. So one company, Cloudflare, you may have heard me talk about it before, basically created a website to shame ISPs who are using this insecure form of it or haven't updated. And the website is called Is BGP Safe Yet? So you can go on there, and basically it tells you what this is. BGP is kind of like, you can think of it like the postal service of the internet, where there's different nodes. So you send data from one side of the world to the other. It has to jump through different nodes. There's not one central planning server that says, okay, take this route. Basically, ISPs all kind of advertise to all the other ISPs which data they can send between which points, and say, oh, you have some data to send to me? Yeah, send it to me and I can send it to the other place that you're trying to get it to. But the problem is that a ISP that is either malicious or just incompetent can be wrong. They can say, yeah, I can send it to this other place, and they could be wrong, and then it's a failure, and then it causes delays. Or it could be some malicious ISP, like in Russia or something, where they can say, yeah, I'll forward it to that other place destination, and then capture it, do a man-in-the-middle attack or something like that. However, there is a new security protocol called RPKI, stands for Resource Public Key Infrastructure, and it basically allows an ISP to verify a route before it's taken and sends all the data off to it. It seems like a no-brainer. However, not all ISPs have implemented this feature yet, so you can go on this website and see if yours does. You basically can run a test, and it'll send a correct route and give it an incorrect route, and if your ISP is able to identify which one is correct and ignore that one, then it means your ISP is using this secure protocol, and if not, then that's a problem, and you can let them know that you are not happy about that. And you can look through the rest of the site. They have some other information, like a little animation to kind of show the basic idea of this, or you can just look at the list of IPs. So definitely something I thought was cool. I had never heard of this before, but clearly it seems like something important, so hopefully ISPs, now that they're being called out, that they will implement this in the future. All right, next topic. This is a quick one, but pretty important. You should make sure to update Google Chrome, because it was discovered there is a security flaw that has been patched out, but you need to make sure you go and update Google Chrome to the latest version so you know you're protected against it. It's basically some sort of flaw that allows remote execution or external execution of code outside of Chrome, apparently, which is obviously a big deal. It can basically allow a hacker to do anything they want on your computer. So basically just go into Chrome, go to the settings, and then go down to help, and then about Google Chrome, and then it'll update, and make sure after you restart, you're running version 81.0.4044.113 at least, and then you're good. Next up, here's a cool new feature for Google Fi. You can now use it with eSIM on iPhones. So you might have known that iPhones for the last several generations have supported dual SIM, where you have a physical SIM card, but you can also have an eSIM in there. And some telecoms like AT&T, for example, allow you to use an eSIM with your iPhone. Google Fi was not one of them. Even though Google Fi had started allowing use in an iPhone, you still had to use a physical card. Not anymore. Apparently, new Google Fi users can now use the service with an iPhone with an eSIM. And this is on any phone that will support it, so the iPhone XR, the XS, or 11 series. They even put up a new support page that describes the whole process, and I'm assuming this will be available for all users eventually. They're probably just rolling it out so it doesn't require like a transfer of the SIM card or something like that. But still, I think it's great that we're getting more eSIM support. I'm really hoping we get to the point where eventually you'll just be able to have basically unlimited amount of phone numbers on one phone, because they'll all be eSIMs, and then you'll basically have multiple phone numbers, just like you might have multiple emails. You can have one spam phone number, stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be cool. And finally, having to do with the PlayStation 5, it turns out there's been some reports that the PlayStation 5 will have a limited production initially. So they're not going to be producing as much as they had on the PS4 at first. And apparently this is because they're expecting lower demand, possibly because of higher pricing. And one reason is it's going to have higher specs, so it's obviously going to be more expensive, causing less demand. And also apparently the higher price might also be in part due to the supply chain issues from the whole coronavirus. There are some analysts that have been saying that they're expecting the price to be between like $450 and $550. I think $500 is gonna probably be the cost of it. And honestly though, I think that's a pretty reasonable price for a next gen console. I mean, several years ago when the PS4 came out, it was what, $400? So, you know, several years later, things get more expensive, inflation. I think $500 honestly is pretty reasonable, though it might see less demand at first, especially with this whole thing going around and people are less willing to spend a lot of money. So anyway, if you guys want to keep watching though, the next video I'd recommend is where I compared the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X to their previous generations and showed the new features in each of those. So I'll put that link right here. Definitely recommend it. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.